asterisk by the ones that a different color asterisk by the ones we feel like are concerns. And if they're a leader and they haven't bought in, it can be a very negative situation. One of your best leaders that doesn't like you as a coach, your philosophy, or your team can hurt your team more than anything else. When you're thin in the spring and you're looking at young guys, we're doing more cross-training than ever before. It's something that Dick Tomey brought us. He always said in recruiting, you ought to try to sign a guy that can play 11 spots. And the more spots a guy can play, if he can't play the one you thought he could, he has other opportunities. Quarterbacks, it's more difficult. For instance, Garrett's going to play quarterback. He's not going to play any other spots. But if you can get a skilled guy, defensive end, maybe could play tight end, outside linebacker, two ends, both of the defensive end spots, it really helps us when we look at that. And we'll talk about depth chart more in just a minute. Marquise Goodwin will be on track alone. That was our agreement with him coming out of high school. So he will not participate in spring practice this spring. And we think he has a chance to get to the Olympics. He is really, really special at what he does. It was obvious to us that he didn't work out all summer with football. He didn't catch a ball till he got here, and he looked real good and real fast for us. So we think he is an outstanding player for our future. He's done everything right. He's becoming a leader on our team. He had outstanding grades, and we think he can do the same for track that he did for football this year. And we'd like for him to be one of the best track stars for our track team in the country. Injuries, those will be released by John. You may already have them. They won't let me talk about them a lot. In spring, you can get by with some guys like Aaron Barnett is freed to practice, but he is not going to be able to have full contact. So we'll put him in a green jersey. He can do everything, but he will not have contact. He'll be in position to have contact. You just got to be careful with his shoulder that he doesn't get knocked down or fall down. And usually the kids handle that pretty well because it gives him a chance to be out there. Blaine Irby's situation has simply not changed. He is in a position where he will miss spring, and they'll continue to monitor him, but he will not be out there this spring. Ian Harris, I think we had said before, Ian is a young man that got a medical, and he will no longer play football. I think that was back in the spring, end of last spring or first of the fall. We look at let's go depth chart first, and this isn't in writing because these are just ways that we line them up based on how competitive they've been in the off season. At X, you'll have Malcolm Williams and Greg Timmons. The tight end would be Greg Smith and Ahmad Howard. You got Trey Graham. We're also moving. You got Barrett Matthews that's going to play H-back and tight end because instead of just using a fullback, we'll have some two-back concepts with a quarterback under the center in the spring, and it'll go back to the H-back will be our fullback. So it can be a fullback, H-back, who would be a wing that motions back and forth like you see in the NFL a lot, or he could be a tight end. So Barrett Matthews is in that group. You are also looking at Dominic Jones, who will not play defensive end this spring. He's moving over to H-back, fullback, tight end, and he will be fun for us to watch. At the same time, we're taking all of our big backs that are tailbacks, and they'll continue to be tailbacks, but they also will cross-train at the H-back position. So Cody Johnson is a guy that will play tailback, but he will also play H-back. He's played some fullback for us. You start looking at Chris Whaley. He's a guy that will play tailback, but he's 250, 60 pounds. I mean, he's really big. He can play H-back as well as that group. So that'll be really interesting for us to watch and see how those things tie together. Even though 45% of the NFL now is in the shotgun, we do feel like that we want to keep our shotgun runs, but limit them. Not have a package where we felt like the zone read would be huge for Garrett, because it never was great for Colt. He did it in some games, but it was great for Vince. So we also found out that more of our explosive plays over the last 2 years have been with the quarterback under the center. the percentage of explosive plays has been better. So we'll move our backs around some. We will have our quarterback under the center more. We will use more play-action pass with our running game, but we also do not want to get into a position where we throw out our passing game. It has been so good. So we'll still have our 3 and 4 wideouts. We will still be up-tempo and try to go no huddle. So there will not be changes from those standpoints. We just want to run the ball more and run the ball better. In 2005, we averaged 250 yards rushing and 250 yards passing. And that's what we would like to do every game. You'd like to be 50-50. And then if there's too many around the line of scrimmage, you'd like to be able to throw it 60%. And if there's just giving you the run, you'd like to be able to run it 60%. So that's what we're working back towards. Without getting into all the depth chart, James Kirkendall would be starting at wide receiver, Brett Mitchell at right tackle, Michael Huey at right guard, David Snow at center, Trey Allen at left guard, Kyle Hicks at left tackle, John Childs at flanker. The sub-B position is the one that James Kirkendall is playing. You'd have Trey Newton lining up at tailback. He'd be backed up by Fozzie and by you've got Cody and Vondrell. We do think that Vondrell may have some new life in Cody with more downhill runs because that's what they were used to in high school. The B, sub-B, is when the fullbacks split out. The B position for us, or H, would be a fullback, or H-back, which would be Barrett Matthews and Dominic Jones, and our big backs. Mason Walters will not participate this spring. We've talked about that. That should be on your list. And we really need to do a great job of looking at those young linemen because we lose 4 of the 5 offensive linemen for next year. So this backup offensive line and the ones we're signing this year and the next year will be key as far as stepping up and trying to make sure that we can continue in the offensive line with older guys. We also said the goal for spring got to run the ball better, get our backs alignments and pass back down because it will be a different type running game. Identify the starters who can step up and help us the most. Each year we go through, it's like a draft, and all of our coaches get in different rooms and they take the guys on their side of the ball and they actually write down who they feel like the most important player on offense or defense is. And they have a point system, and the guy with the most points, they give to me the list, and then I can go back over it and see who I feel like my opinion would be, because I do the same. And we match up and see who the coaches trust the most, and we tell the players that and then basically show them some of that. Defensively, you've got Okafor and Eddie Jones at the buck. You've got the 3 technique, Howell and Higgins. You've got the nose guard, Keyston Randall, Derek Johnson, Sam Acho and Mims at the other end, Dravante Johnson and Nakapra at Sam, Ernest and Tariq Allen at Mike, Kenan Robinson and Ryan Robeson at Will, and Jared Norton will be limited at the first of spring as well. I think he's probably on the list, isn't he, John? So that's why he's not listed in this group. Christian Scott at safety. He and Vaccaro and Wells will alternate at safety along with Blake.